The gun confiscation program is rolling out. It's open right now. You won't believe this is actually real, but it is real. They're telling gun owners, if you even want a shot at getting paid, tell us what you have right now and get into the queue. Once they have that information, they can secure a warrant for your home like that, which is the big scandal in all of this. Wait till we get to the details, like people are going to fall out of their chairs.
Can you give us a summary of the recent revisions to the Canadian gun legislations and what the confiscation regimen is going to look like?
Everything was kind of quiet on the Western Front for a while there, and then they came out a little while ago. There was leaked audio that we broke. The CCFR actually broke that to the media of the public safety minister, Gary Ananda-Sangari, admitting to one of his tenants that they're rolling out this gun buyback, the confiscation program, and some of the details of it. So Gary said the quiet part out loud, like liberals, they only tell the truth when they think no one is listening. But this guy was recording the conversation. Of course, that got leaked, and basically, you would think that the public safety minister works for the gun lobby, because he was basically like we know this is illogical. None of this makes any sense. Don't ask me to explain it to you. He actually said verbatim, we wouldn't do this if it wasn't a previous promise. We would strengthen the border, trying to keep the illegal guns out of Canada. We would do bail reform, keep these violent repeat offenders in jail. All this stuff. Basically, he sounds, basically like me. So Canadians are actually getting to hear what they're up to. And the buyback was rolling out in the form of a pilot project on the east coast of Canada in a place called Cape Breton. And the details of this are actually quite interesting. So the chief of police in Cape Breton, they have their own police service for the majority of that area, private police force, is the brother-in-law of the Liberal member of parliament in that riding. They roll this guy out, and the chief of police in Cape Breton, and he's like, we're proud to be part of this, and it's an opportunity for gun owners to get paid for these guns that are too dangerous to own, and all this garbage. And basically, the pilot project is for 6 weeks, I believe. There are 3,100 licensed gun owners in that area, and they are prepared to buy back 200 rifles. Now, this is what they're doing to test the software, the portal, and everything, and then to retrieve the firearms and destroy them, so that they've gone through a cycle in its entirety with individuals to see whether or not, this is all going to work as planned. So the gun confiscation program is rolling out. It's actually a reality. It's open right now, and they're going to see how it works.
And so do you know of anybody in Cape Breton? Like, what has the response been to this so far from gun owners there? Is there any resistance movement at this point in time that you know of?
Well, we've heard from a few gun owners in Cape Breton, but it's only a handful, right? If there's 3,100 of them in that area, we probably heard from 4 of them. And they're overwhelmingly telling us that the government's not getting anything, which is not great, right? Because right now, all these gun owners are protected by an amnesty, meaning that they can't be criminally prosecuted for unauthorized possession of these now prohibited firearms. But that amnesty is going to end in 1 year. And when that happens, all these people are going to be in possession of what, in the eyes of the law, is considered machine guns. And these are very serious criminal charges. And if they catch you, they will charge you and they will wreck your life.
Does the results of this trial, this 6-week trial, does that dictate how the future rollout will be? Like, if nobody turns in their guns for compensation, what do you think the response might be then?
I think a lot of people online certainly have said, well, I'm not turning anything in, this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, well, their plan is going to fail. Their program is going to be a failure. And it's like, people need to understand, the people in the government in Canada and almost around the world, they're all the same people. But the people in Canada, they don't care whether this program is a success or not. What's going to happen is they're going to roll out this piece of garbage. They're going to blow $1 billion, which is, you need about $4 billion to run this. And I'm going to talk about that because it's really important. But anyway, they're going to blow $1 billion on this. They're going to collect almost no firearms. And then the media is going to hail it as a massive success, and so will the government itself. And you know what? They're going to get away with all of it. The average dumb NPC, right?
Yeah.
In urban centers in Canada and in rural communities too. I guess they get a handful of them everywhere. They'll just be like, "Oh, we finally got these dangerous assault weapons off the streets," and that'll be the end of it. And they don't care. There will be hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of Canadians that will be sitting on, who knows, one or 50 of these firearms for the rest of their lives illegally, and just waiting for a house fire or a break-in or some way that law enforcement ends up in their life and finds one of these guns, and that person will likely go to jail for some period of time. Criminals don't care. That doesn't affect them, but regular people it does. So, but anyway, I think what's important is we should probably move on to the big scandal in all of this. You won't believe this is actually real, but it is real. So the government told us, knowing full well that we're the gun lobby in Canada and that we are going to tell everyone what we hear in this meeting, they said that they have a budget that is capped at $742 million. And everything with this program, right from 2020, right, just for 5.5 years ago, is taken out of this budget, including the call center, the 152 people they have working full time on this buyback, the money they're paying police to pick up firearms. I think it's $250 per gun. This just everything comes out of this budget. And they said minus the retail portion that they've already done, this retail buyback, they've already done on like 70% of it. Although we got clarification, just bear with me because this is important. We got clarification in an email from Public Safety 2 days ago that said the retail buyback was included in that budget. Now, I said, well, how many are you prepared to buy? And they said 152,000. And I'm like, 152,000? And I said, what? There's like 90,000 ARs in Canada. And they're like, well, actually, there's 126,000 firearms that previously were restricted, like ARs. We know where they are. We know who has them. So we're taking those. And I said, well, yeah, and you've bought back 13,000 from retailers. So 13,000 plus 126, if you take that out of this 152,000 firearms that you're prepared to buy, that leaves 13,000 firearms that were previously non-restricted, now that are prohibited, that you're willing to pay for. And that consumes the rest of that budget. So then I was like, well, there's a lot more than 13,000 firearms. I would think that there's 1 million. So I made some phone calls. I called 3 different sizes of gun shops to do some kind of an estimate. I also called the industry lobby, the gun industry lobby in Canada, where the end user, where the regular gun lobby. And I got this information. Since 9/11, so 2000, just after 9/11, so 2002, Global Affairs Canada have kept track of every firearm that has entered the country. So the make, model, serial number, all the information for every gun in the last 24 years that has come into Canada. They know exactly how many guns there are in circulation, at least for the last 24 years. Mm-hmm. So I'm talking to the industry group rep, and he's like, they have all those numbers. The government has all those numbers. And I'm like, based on my research, it's got to be 1 million. He goes, yeah, it's probably just over 1 million. And the government knows that. And I'm like, okay. And he says, but wait, this pales in comparison to what came in before 2002, like the Mini 14s, all these guns. He goes, I'm like, so do you think there's 2 million? He goes, I don't know, but there's probably pretty close to 2 million. I'm like, okay, let's say that some of these guns have been destroyed or what have you. If there's 1.5 million guns in circulation that were previously non-restricted, the government knows that. And they're saying, we are allocating money for 13,000. And then they also told me, this is my understanding, so I'm hoping that I got it wrong. They're like, they're going to open up this web portal when they roll this out across the country. They're telling gun owners, if you even want a shot at getting paid, tell us what you have right now and get into the queue. Now, once they have that information, and if you don't turn it in, they can secure a warrant for your home like that. So I'm like, okay, well, You're going to literally rip off 90, like, you know how much money they would need if they wanted everybody to participate? They would need another 2.7 billion. And they
2.7 billion.
and they put throughout all the notices online. You can go there and look, and it says compensation is not guaranteed, right? So they're going to pay for basically almost no guns. They're going to have everyone that's going to run in and tell them what they have, because you're legally obligated to do that,
Right.
right? And then they're not going to pay anybody. And I'm like, why would they intentionally do that? Like, they have all these numbers, right? I'm just some dumb like me. If I can find out that there's at least 1.5 million of these specific firearms in circulation, they sure the heck know. But they're willing to pay for almost none of them. Why would they rip off all these people to get a criminal background check every day to such a degree? Even if they said, okay, you know what? Times are tough. We're only going to allocate 1.8 billion to the individual buyback. If they came up with a number that was still way too low, but was at some level reasonable, this whole program would still look legitimate. But they told me that, knowing full well I'm going to tell everyone. It's almost like they don't want anybody to participate, and they want all those illegal guns to stay in the hands of law-abiding gun owners. There's something wrong with this whole thing. Like, they know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what the ramifications are. And that's why I look at this, and, that's why I'm just like, where's all this going? As far as whether people will do things like resort to violence or even non-compliance, I think a lot of people will engage in non-compliance for a number of reasons. Some people will be like, just the principle, I just can't do it in good conscience. So that's fine. I think a lot of people will do it emotionally because they haven't thought of the consequences. So if you're a lawyer, or you have to travel for work, or you need to pass a background check to do what you're doing, or whatever, like, your life will be destroyed. Your career will be destroyed if you're caught with this gun. And then as far as anything else, I don't know. I think Canadians are pretty passive. And I think before they just flat out say, no, we are not taking it under any circumstances, Canadians need to suffer more. They need to be short on food. They need to be able to not be able to feed themselves. They need to see no future for themselves or their kids. That's when people are going to get so angry that they're going to physically act out. So I don't know whether they're trying to push that, or they're just like, we don't care what anybody does because we're in charge, and we're embezzling all the money out of Canada before it implodes anyway. Like, I don't know what they're thinking. And that's why it's still a kind of a mystery to me.
So you think they're encouraging non-compliance so that people incriminate themselves, and then, like a recent case in pop culture that many people are familiar with that I'm not going to talk about, but they'll use that against you in the future if they want to. Is that what your thinking is, or what would the purpose for that level of 4DHS be?
Well, that's at a minimum. That's at a minimum level. So for somebody, like, I recently found out that I'm under active surveillance. Like, I have somebody assigned to me, the whole thing, and that was communicated to me, right? And I'm like, me?
Well, if you are, then I'm screwed.
Well, I mean, I think everyone knows now that everything you say around your phone, all of your network, it's all being cataloged. It's being stored and cataloged. And not that anyone is actually looking at it. It's just if you become a problem later, they can have that. Whereas some people have someone assigned to them that is looking through all that stuff and monitoring. So I think even for somebody like me, I might say, well, here, I have these guns. They might have information. It's like, okay, he's got 3 more rifles he didn't declare. And they may do absolutely nothing. But they're going to hold that over me for the rest of my life until I'm enough of a problem for them to say, okay, send this to the RCMP, get a warrant, send ERT, And if you think, again, like, I don't want to keep going down the rabbit hole, but these things are real. For me, I could be in the middle of the night, my door's getting pounded in. I think it's a home invasion. I make sure that I'm not a victim, if you know what I'm saying. I run down the stairs, and it's like, oh, well, he was armed with something, and we had to blast him. Right. Completely appropriate shooting. We were executing a legal warrant, and this is what happened, or whatever, right? So there's a number of different scenarios, and they aren't far-fetched, because if it was far-fetched, I'd be the first one to say, I'm not even talking about that. That's far-fetched. So they will end up, through this whole process, having something over the heads of probably 500,000 people in Canada. At
Right.
any time, they can roll out that evidence, say, yeah, it took us a long time to get to it, but this guy's got 2 rifles, we think, that or he declared we didn't pay him for, and then he refused to surrender. They'll just let that sit until they need it and then pull the trigger on you. That's my opinion, at a very minimum.